What's the most terrible thing you're secretly happy about? I heard my dad shouting in the living room. You think you can talk back to me? I don't care if you're scared. You do what I tell you to do because I'm your father. My younger brother Sean laughed back at him. Father? Ha, you're barely around. If being a father was a job, you'd be fired. He bit back. And this was a typical day in our house. Dad would yell, Sean would yell back, and eventually someone would slam a door and that would be the end of it. So I put my headphones on and tried to ignore it like I always did. Except this time, things got really out of control. I heard something large shatter on the ground, making me jump from my seat. I pulled my headphones off. The yelling had stopped, which somehow felt worse. I crept to my door and opened it just enough to peek my head out and see Sean shaking in the hallway with blood running down his face, and Dad's phone shattered on the floor next to him. Sean? I whispered. He didn't respond. Instead, he fled out the front door. Dad stormed after him, his face red, eyes crazed. But instead of chasing Sean on foot, he grabbed his keys and headed straight for his car. I ran toward the window, heart racing as I watched Sean wave his arms in the middle of the road, screaming for neighbors to help. I opened the front door and yelled, Sean, but it was too late. Dad was already speeding straight at him. Then suddenly, slam. Sean flew and hit the pavement hard, skidding and rolling until his body landed on the sidewalk. But Dad didn't stop or slow down. He just sped off and disappeared around the corner. I screamed and ran toward him while I frantically called 911 for help. The paramedics loaded him onto a stretcher and rushed us off in an ambulance to the nearest hospital. Is he gonna be okay? I asked through my tears. They didn't answer, but I knew the truth. He was in critical condition. At the hospital, doctors and nurses rushed in and out every time his vitals crashed, while I sat in the waiting room, giving my statement to the officials and attending doctor while it was all still horribly fresh in my head. Even when things seemed to slow down and stabilize, I couldn't sit still. At first, I felt guilty, thinking of all those times I ignored their fights, putting on my headphones and pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. And now, Sean was fighting for his life, and I couldn't help but imagine the doctors coming out telling me he didn't make it. After an hour of sitting around, a doctor walked over with a grim expression, holding the scans. I'm so sorry, he said quietly, but you need to see this. I looked at the scans, bracing myself, but what he showed me was something no one could have ever expected. There wasn't internal bleeding, no swelling, not even a broken bone, just a few fractures and abrasions, and a massive, aggressive tumor wrapped around his kidney that had absolutely nothing to do with getting hit by a car. Your brother would have died the moment this started spreading to other organs. It's terrible to say, but he's lucky he ended up here tonight, the doctor said. Lucky? My brother getting run over by my dad was lucky? I wanted to scream at him for using that word, but I couldn't because he was right. A few more weeks and it would have been too late. Sean would have been walking around with a death sentence growing inside him, and none of us would have known until it took his life. We need consent for his surgery, he said carefully. I laughed. Consent from who? My mom who's dead? Or my dad who ran over him? Or me, a 16-year-old kid? I asked bitterly. The doctor's face went awkwardly pale. He ended up getting special permission for the surgery and worked on my brother for 20 hours straight. There were complications. The tumor was worse than expected, and we had to remove his entire kidney to prevent the spread. But he's stable now and will be making a full recovery, he told me. When Sean finally woke up, he looked around the room confused, tubes coming out of everywhere. I'm alive? He asked weakly. You were always a fighter, I whispered, squeezing his hand. He gave a tired smile. I'm glad you're here, sis. I immediately told him everything. I told him everything. The tumor, the surgery, the fact that he would have been dead in months if we hadn't caught it. He just stared at the ceiling for a long time without saying anything. Then he let out a sour laugh. So Dad tried to kill me and ended up saving my life instead. Father of the year.